Hello, I'm Anthony Hobbs, and in the book Prince Caspian, what were the Archenlanders doing? I thought Archenland was the ally of Narnia, so the Narnians needed all the help they could get, so what were the Archenlanders doing? Why didn't they come and help them fight the Telmarines? That issue is never cleared up. Anyway, this review concerns The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, yes, my second favourite of the Narnia books. My first favourite is still The Horse and His Boy. But that wasn't as successful as Book 5, Book 6, Book 2 and Book 4. One theory is because where are the Pevensey children? People are disappointed there are no Pevensey children in The Horse and His Boy. Well, I didn't read the books in the right order. So by the time I read Horse and His Boy, I already knew the stories of all the Pevensey children in, and I thought the Pevensey kids have had a good run, it's time to move on. If all the Narnia books had Pevensey kids in it, would be boring. No, I want to see new characters and new environments and everything, yeah. So I'm glad Horse and His Boy and Magician's Nephew were not chiefly concerned with Pevensey kids. Nevertheless, they are connected. Another theory is The Horse and His Boy wasn't as successful because we barely ever spend any time in Narnia. Well, in this book we barely spend any time in Narnia, yeah. We see a colony of Narnia, like the Lone Islands, but that's about it. The story all takes place on board ship. But, well, maybe because the Pevensey children were so iconic because of the Lion, the Witch and Wardrobe, that's why the fans like them. But even though Horse and His Boy is my favourite, this one is very special as well. I think the thing I loved about The Voyage of the Dawn Treader was the unknown, the incredible voyage into the unknown, not knowing what to expect, what strange things are we going to see. Oh, and here's the movie version, Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Very good. They do take liberties of the story a bit, like they don't visit the islands in the right order, but nevertheless, this is a really good version of the plot. Yes, they leave a hint for a sequel, but they didn't do a sequel after this one. Yeah, maybe this one didn't make as much money. Anyway, Voyage of the Dawn Treader. It's very well written, very well done, and when we go to the Lone Islands, that is not totally unknown. No, that is a place. Well, Narnians haven't been there for well over a century, you know, and the colony isn't being run the way it's supposed to be in accordance with Narnian laws. So they have to sort that out. So we don't go into the total unknown straight away. No, that comes later. Like here's the map. Here, this is important. This is the known land, if you like. Yes, this is the first part of the voyage. There we have Narnia, Archenland, Calamen, the Seven Isles, Galma, Terabithia, Cair Paravel, and that's where the people from our world join them on that part of the ship. And there we see the Lone Islands there, which clearly are the furthest away from the mainland, yeah. And in other words, they see people that know about Narnia and stuff, and Narnian laws and stuff, and they ask the people of the Lone Islands what comes next, and nobody really knows if you sail further. In other words, there's a point in the story where Lucy and Edmund, two of the Pevensey kids, Lucy says, "Where are we heading for?" And the captain says, "We're heading for the Lone Islands." And after the Lone Islands, nobody knows. Nobody sailed further than that. Nobody knows what lays beyond that. And then the talking mouse, Reapy Jeep, says, "It is after the Lone Islands that the real adventure begins." Yeah, so that sums it up, yeah. And yes, it's very imaginative, very strange, unusual islands we find here and there. Okay, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, for me, my first intro to it was the book, but I only read like the first few chapters, and perhaps the most famous image is there. There's a picture of a ship, and suddenly the picture gets really big, or they get really small, one or the other, and end up inside the sea, and then, yes, they get on board the Narnian ship. In other words, in the Narnia books, there's an everyday object that gets them to Narnia. Magic rings, a magic wardrobe, a magic railway station, or in this case, a pitcher. Yes, they end up inside a pitcher and then find themselves teleported into Narnia. Yeah, and but I only read the first few, and then I was only like 9 years old. I got impatient, just wanted to know the story straight away, so I listened to the audio tape version of it. Yeah, but and it sounds like I'm making this up, but I'm not. The mission is to find the 7 missing lords of Narnia. They find one of the missing lords by side 2 on this tape. And then, when we're very near the end of this recording, the narrator says, "The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. The Dawn Treader ship continued her voyage to find the 7 missing lords of Narnia. And after many magical adventures, all 7 were accounted for. Yada yada yada, blah blah blah, Aslan appears, and then the 3 children from our world go home." That's it. It's finished. Over. And I was like, is this a joke? You can't do that. No. How did they find the 7 missing lords? What kind of obstacles got in the way? What? No, you can't do that. That's lackluster. But the tape is only an hour long. Oh, just under an hour long. So how can you condense a story this long and complicated into the space of an hour? Well, you can't, can you? No. So that's why, although you get the main gist of it, yeah, what the main plot is, they cut loads out. It's much too abbreviated, much too is left out. Then, when I was 9, still, a few months later, the TV version came out. And I wanted to see, like, you know, just the first half. It was a 4-part series. The first 2 parts, and then read the book, and then see the second half of the series. And my sister said, that's a stupid way of doing it. Because that way, when you watch the show, there are no surprises. You know what's coming, or what to expect. So when I looked at it that way, I thought, oh, this is getting ridiculous. Either read the book properly all the way through, then watch the show, or watch the TV show all the way through properly, and then read the book. So I thought, watch the TV show. So I did. And yes, lots of surprises. Yeah, there's going to be some spoilers now. Yes, they find water that turns things to gold, a cave full of treasure that you turn into a dragon and stuff. Oh, yes, and when they find the water that turns things to gold, Caspian is amazed and goes, the king who rules this island will be the richest person in the whole world. Great, it's mine. It's all mine and nobody else can have it. Yeah. You're the king of Narnia. You're filthy rich. You have more than enough money to last the rest of your life. Why would you get excited about finding that? And then Edmund wants to sword fight Caspian, saying, no, I want all the gold for myself. It's going to be all mine, all mine. Why are they fighting over water that turns things to gold? Even shared, there's enough gold there to make you wealthy like billionaires for the rest of your lives. Why on earth would you fight over that when there's plenty for everyone? Yeah. But then the moral of that part of the story is the desire for money is wrong. Therefore they leave it and don't tell anyone they found it. Well, it's not quite as black and white as that. The desire for money is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you had lots and lots of money for charity or to heal the sick or something like that. Yeah. That's a very black and white way of looking at it. The desire for a lot of money is not necessarily a bad thing, but there we are. It's child's logic. Anyway, yes, I liked Reapy Cheap a lot. I think he was my favourite talking animal. And in the book version we have several talking beasts, yeah, as opposed to just one, which sort of makes sense, because at this point in the Narnian history, talking beasts and humans are equals on the same level, yes. So, yeah, why do they only have one on board, yeah. And Reapy Cheap, very brave, valiant, the most valiant of all the talking beasts of Narnia. But also, he's a little bit nuts, in that sometimes he's impractical, sometimes if a member of the crew starts an argument with him, he wants to sword fight to the death. And Caspian stops him whenever he attempts to do that. He goes, no, control your temper. Save your strength, yes. Effectively, Caspian holds his leash, metaphorically. Yes, stops him doing anything too outrageous. At one point, the mouse wants to fight a dragon on his own, single combat. And Caspian says, no, you can't do that, no. Need an army to fight that thing, yeah. So yes, Caspian, being the commander-in-chief, stops Reapy Cheap being too outrageous, yeah. And, oh yeah, okay, nitpick time if you like. Here we have Caspian falls in love with Ramandu's daughter, who's the star's daughter, because stars are living entities in the Narnian world, and she's the daughter of a star, yeah. Anyway, the point is, Caspian is offered to marry an important noblewoman on one of the 7 Isles, but he turns her down flat because she has freckles. What a ridiculous reason for not fancying someone that has freckles. That is so silly, yeah. But it's all on medieval terms, you know, they fall in love on looks alone. He meets Ramandu's daughter and falls in love, wants to marry her within a few hours of knowing her, you know. If you fell in love that quickly nowadays, you'd be a creepy weirdo. But in the Middle Ages, what plays on Middle Ages terms, that's acceptable to fall in love so quickly, you know. And she's just known as Ramandu's daughter. C.S. Lewis never gives her a name, which is a bit silly. But she is given a name in the movie version, yeah. And, of course, I've got to talk about Eustace. Yes, this new character, Eustace, yes. We see him, and at first you think he's just an out-and-out bully, just mean and horrible to everyone. But as his character develops, you realise that no, more than that. He's not just a bully. there's a nice person trying to get out deep down inside, but he doesn't know how to be nice. He has abysmal people skills. And he never reads the sort of books you'd expect kids to read, like adventure, magic, fantasy, adventure, all that sort of thing. No, he just reads books about facts, solid scientific facts, or stuff about politics and economies. And when he sees a dragon in the story, he doesn't know what it is, you know. So it's strange. All little kids know what a dragon is. Yes, he's quite an unusual character, yeah. And he's, however, although he's very obnoxious, there are some parts in the story you actually feel inclined to agree with him. Like when the Narnian ship has been in a big storm, and then afterwards the drinking water barrels have been destroyed, or most of them destroyed, and he goes, oh, Narnian efficiency again. Huh! And then afterwards they're sailing, they've gone past the Lone Islands, into the unknown, they've got to find the 7 missing lords that disappeared somewhere beyond the Eastern Ocean, you know, and they're going to keep sailing east until they find an island where they are. And Eustace says, the ship is damaged. Why don't we just turn around, go back the way we came, where we know there's land, repair the ship, and then get on with the voyage? And Caspian says, no, we can't do that. We'll have lost precious time sailing, you know. We've got to keep sailing east to get to the island, the unknown island, you know. And Eustace says, we don't know how much longer that's going to be. We don't know if any other islands even exist. Maybe the reason the 7 lords are still missing is because they never came back. They're all dead. We're all going to die if we don't have drinking water within the next few days. We're all going to die if we don't get drinking water. Don't you understand? But no, Caspian's very optimistic. No, we'll do fine. We'll find land. We'll be all right if we keep going that way. And then it gets worse. The ship is like a Viking ship in that the front is shaped like the head of a dragon. And it has oars for rowing, yeah, like a Viking ship. And Eustace says, why doesn't Caspian order the sailors to row the ship, you know? And Caspian says, I can't expect men to row or on such short rations of water. You can't expect them to do that. We're all going to die if we don't get drinking water. I think that would have been motive enough to row, you know. Yes, so Eustace is very obnoxious, but he's also very practical. He says it how it is, yeah. Nevertheless, he is very awful company and terrible, and he refuses to work. When they finally do find an island, of course they get drinking water and stuff, but Eustace refuses to do any work at all. Maybe this is because he hates everyone, and when you don't like anyone, you don't feel guilty about not joining in, not helping them, yeah. Then he goes in the cave, turns into a dragon, and he's shocked and horrified, and he feels lonely. For the first time ever, he feels incredibly lonely. He's a monster, cut off from the whole, yeah. And when he becomes a dragon, he finds a way to sort of convince them that it's really me, it's Eustace, yeah. And he helps them. He does lots of odd jobs to help them. You know, help repair the ship, help them find animals to hunt for food. He uses his fiery breath to, you know, to cook the food and stuff. He helps everyone. And the pleasure of being liked by other people, it's something he's never experienced before. It's really strange, really unusual, yeah. And it cheers him up a lot. He's very happy, and he's appreciative. He appreciates the respect from other people, yeah. So when he's turned back into a boy, he stops being a bully, yeah. And there are a few little bits and bobs that don't quite make sense, like the main plot is good. The 7 missing lords that were friends of Caspian's father, and because his father's dead, well, the friends of his father, that's all that's left of him, you know. So he wants to find them and tell them it's safe. You know, Miraz is no longer king of Narnia. It's safe for you all to come back here. And when they discover these unknown islands, I thought this was going to happen. So spoiler alert. I thought the ship was going to find a different lord on a different island, so 7 islands. No, that would have been a bit too obvious. Instead, they find the odd lord on the odd island, and there are some islands they don't find any of the lords at all, and then they find the last 3 on the same island. Yeah, so, and sometimes there's an island where they don't find a lord, but they find hints that people have been here, you know, so that gives them the courage to get on with the expedition, yeah. So yes, it's a good story and unpredictable. You don't quite know how it's all going to turn out, yeah. Anyway, when they get to the eastern end of the world, the 3 remaining lords are in an enchanted sleep, and the only way to break the enchantment is if the ship sails as close as it can to the end of the world and leaves at least one of their team behind there. And Reapsheep wants to be left behind because he wants to see Aslan's country, yeah. Now, Aslan's country is outside the world, you know, so wouldn't say this is the Narnia world, that's Aslan's country. Wouldn't they be two separate worlds? Wouldn't they have to fly over the chasm and land there? No, they don't. They get there by a conventional rowing boat. Oh, okay. Wouldn't you need to fly over the chasm? Wouldn't you need a spaceship to enter a different world? No, they get there by a regular rowing boat. Okay. Or do they? Or is it Aslan's magic that's helping them cross from world to world? Yeah, but it's very strange and mysterious when they get there. And of course the sun gets bigger as they get closer and closer to the end of the world, because the Narnian world is flat. So therefore the sun would get bigger because you're getting closer to it, yeah. So, I don't know, maybe the way they could have gotten to the other world be described a bit better, yeah. But, yes, Aslan's watching them all the time and everything, and he comes and helps them when need be. And although Caspian didn't call them into this world, yes, they came anyway to help. And Eustace, in a way, you can sort of sympathise with him a bit. The reason he's so obnoxious when he's on board the ship was Eustace didn't ask to be a Narnia. He hates being in ships at the best of times. He hates animals in general, so he doesn't like the talking mouse reef ship, yeah. But we see Eustace finally redeemed as the plot progresses, yes, and he becomes more appreciative of a person. So yes, I think that's a good example of character development. It's more about physically exploring other lands. You're exploring yourself, your soul inside, yeah. And Edmund and Lucy, two Pevensey children older than Eustace, when they finally meet Aslan and he says it's time for you to go back to your own world, they say, when can we come back to Narnia? And Aslan says, you can never come back to Narnia. And they're very, very sad. He goes, you're too old now and you must grow close to your own world. It's all about growing up, They knew that day would come one day, yes. So they're very disappointed. He didn't say whether or not Eustace could come back or not, yeah. So that's like, if you like, a hint for a possible sequel, yeah. So for me, yes, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, a shining example of exploring the unknown, yeah. But I'm pleased to say that exploring is a lot more safe and a lot more effective and practical nowadays, yeah. But maybe that's kind of the point of the story. It's exciting, not knowing if you're going to be destroyed or not. Good idea for a story, but if I was an explorer, I'd be a lot more practical, yeah. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm Anthony Hobbs, and I'm never bored.